Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 12th day of November 2019. Well, we have a 3 energy today. We had an 11:11 gate yesterday, so hopefully you had a very illuminating day and some things maybe became clear for you. Um, Today, we're going to put that maybe into practice or into motion with the catalytic triplicity energy of the 3. 3 is also about, it's not just catalytic, it's about the middle way. It's about the triangle. It's about, it's basically a foundational structure of our lives. 3 factors in all over the place. Mind, body, spirit, past, present, and future. Anything like that, so you can see a super ego, and id. If you're a Freudian psychology person, we don't really think about it that way anymore. I don't think. I don't know though. It's been a long time since I got my degree in psychology, and of course it's just a bachelor's, so for whatever that's worth, I guess. But in any event, let's look at the astrology for today. We have the full moon. It's full right now. It was full at 5:34 this morning, my time here on the West Coast. So if you want to work some magic today, you can wait till this evening if you want to and do it under the full moon. But you can work magics that involve, fulfilling life goals and all of that. If there's something really big in your life that you want to manifest, you can do that on the full moon. But the other thing you can do is bring something that you set in motion on the new moon into fruition now. You can set your intention then and then try to see it manifest by now. So hopefully over the time that since the new moon, you've kind of been keeping track of how your intention has been manifesting, watching it percolate, if you will. And so tonight is a night you can bring that into fruition. Tomorrow, though, is the crone phase of the moon, and so today's the mother phase. I got a really nice maiden shot. I'm going to probably put that on the correspondences post for today. I got a really cool shot of a maiden last night, and so we'll probably use that one for that. So if you want to check that out when it goes up later this morning over on the blog over at Stepping Aside at imsteppingaside.com, you can check that out. That's just another. Again, it's done at noon instead of right now at 9 o'clock. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Is I set the astrological chart for the reading. I set it at about 9 o'clock this morning. So a little bit sooner. So the moon may change, may shift a little. I don't know. Probably shifts a house or something. But in any event, the sun's still in the 11th house of Scorpio. Not much has changed there. Passionate experiences, avoid drama and deception. Still, we're still, in Mercury retrograde until this 20th, and so, we're going to be looking at all kinds of issues there. But we have a conjunct between the Sun and Mercury involving positive news again today. Ideas can flow. You can have a lot of confidence today. A sextile again with Pluto, same as yesterday, a trine with Neptune. Clear expression, insightful thoughts, intuitive, artistic flavor. We have let's see, where's Venus? So Venus is in Sagittarius in the first house, and that sort of reinforces that. So focus maybe on improving your appearance, maybe go to the hairdresser or go buy something new to wear or something, or beautify your surroundings, but it's just a day to sort of, kind of let things shine. We are in, the moon again is in Taurus. It's also in the 5th house. So routine, is there. Is that where it is? Is it in the 5th house? I think so. Allow for although you want to allow for routine to happen and play to happen simultaneously, like yesterday, this being the full moon as well, it could indicate that a new phase is beginning in your life. There's an opposition with the sun, between the moon and the sun, which happens on the full moon. So it's why sometimes we feel out of sorts on the full moon, because the energies are just sort of, opposite. The moon may want to hide, but all of a sudden the sun is shining on it, and it's in its fullness, and so the moon can't hide anymore. So, again, that sort of goes along with the 11:11 gate yesterday, where things are maybe some uncomfortable truths are coming out maybe today. So it's just something where you want to let that happen. Don't try to stop the truth from coming out. In other words, if you resist, it just gets more uncomfortable. Opposition with Mercury also between that and the moon. Think again before you speak. A trine with Pluto also reinforces that. Again, Mercury's in the 11th house of Scorpio, so again, interpretation, intense communication. Again, retrograde, so you're going to want to look beneath the surface of things, or either that, and find the real underlying truth instead of reacting to what you see. And that's why it's best to think before you speak, to take that time to pause and just allow for maybe something to settle out before you really understand what's really going on. Again, the retrograde with Mercury can cause all kinds of confusion. And it just, sometimes things just aren't how they appear. Let's see. Oh, a sesqui square with Chiron, between that and Mercury, is sort of asking us to allow our past experience, again, to inform the present moment. And again, that may relate to the whole idea of looking beneath the surface before reacting, to really try to see what's truly going on. And if you can't, well, don't react, just wait. And I know that's tough. It is for me. Between the empath and the intuitive and all of that, it just, when I know something, I know something. And doggone it, I don't want to wait to tell you about it, So, but sometimes that doesn't work out. So you kind of have to just sort of see, well, is the way really open for that? Mars in Libra in the 10th house still happening. So again, at work, your brilliance and your leadership skills may not be so welcome today. So, take the temperature of the room, check the tone of everyone, see if it's welcome. There's something again today about we've been talking about this. I've been including this because I think they're interesting. I like patterns. We have, there's something called duplicated signs, which seems obvious. You've got two signs together on the, in this case, the 11th and 12th houses and the 6th and 7th house cusps you're looking at. On an astrological chart, you'll see all the houses inside, or all the planets inside the houses, right? But then on the outside ring of it, you'll see little, like Mercury or Venus in Capricorn or whatever on the house cusp, right? Well, those are important. And sometimes you'll see duplicated signs, right? And oftentimes you'll also see intercepted signs at the same time. And an intercepted sign is where it's not, going over into another house. It's staying contained within one house itself. It's not spreading over it all. And so usually a duplicated sign will sort of give you a way out of the interceptions that you're experiencing. So interceptions today, Virgo and Pisces, suggest we can be easily deceived by self and others, as well as maybe a little too judgmental. But the way out of that is in the duplicated signs today of Scorpio and Taurus, on the 6th and 7th and 11th and 12th house cusps. That's emphasizing with the Taurus, is emphasizing routine and stability, and also maybe a practical approach, so that we're not so easily, in other words, take that idea of letting things come to maybe a resting point and allowing things to sort of settle out before making a judgment about something and reacting. That's taking a more practical approach. That's just allowing, not allowing emotions and it to be all over the place, or the intellect to be all over the place. And so you're jumping to conclusions and all of that. The intercepted signs are sort of fostering all of that. Pisces is emotional, so maybe you might be deceived. You just sort of get carried away. And also maybe with Virgo, you're just a little too judgmental, so you don't allow anything to flow. You don't allow yourself to see what's in front of your face, maybe. So together between the two, it sort of tells us, again, look beneath the surface. Don't be so reactive today. So, all right, that's enough of that. Let's go on with the reading and the runes and see what they have to say today. And, if it starts to align with anything that we just talked about, then, we'll mention that as well. We'll try to draw a synchronicity, a synchronous aspect, if you will. I don't even know what we would call it. I mean, sometimes it seems to oppose, and sometimes it seems to trine. Sometimes it seems to sextile. Sometimes it seems to yod. So I don't know. I think they're all related. You're gonna, if you really explore tarot, you'll find that a particular card is a card of the moon, or it's a Mars energy card, or a Venus, like the Empress is a card of Venus, for example. Adjustment or justice, whichever, not justice. Which is adjustment? Which was adjustment align with? Is it justice? Maybe it is. Yeah. And Crowley changed the order, and so he switches things, and so it's trying to figure out, okay, what was he really replacing this with? But anyway, that's a card of Libra. So you can see how astrology and all sorts of things, geomancy, the I Ching, all of it, they all sort of align with astrological, concepts and planetary positions and what have you. Planets in the signs is typically how you're looking at them, and so such and such and such and such sign, such and such planet and such sign, and so you always want to consider the influence of that whenever you're looking at the tarot. We don't always. Sometimes we just read off the general interpretations, but just understand how it got there. Those interpretations were derived from astrological information as well. So anyhow, let's go ahead and we'll take our first three cards and see what we have. And if this is your first time here, welcome. I take the 13th card each time just for randomness sake, and my normal readings I don't. I just shuffle and lay cards out. We'll also probably move them around, but the first card I've drawn so far is the Nine of Wands, which we've drawn that a few times of late, which is kind of interesting. We'd like to take note of that too. If something's been coming up a lot, if a particular numerology has been coming up. I can't talk and count at the same time. Not and get anywhere. Otherwise, I'd be counting endlessly. We have the Queen of Wands from the court. The Nine of Wands, of course, has a 9 energy to it, so a sense of completion. So the battle's over there, maybe. The Queen of Wands, again, Wands is the fire elements. We're talking about our will, creativity, getting things done. It's an action-oriented type of an element. Masculine, projective. Fire and air are like that. Earth and water are your passive or receptive presences. Feminine, if you want to call it that. These aren't gender, though. It's the quality of the energy in play. Well, here we have the Knight of Cups. We may end up taking a fourth card simply because we've just got too many court cards here. I'm going to go ahead, though, and I'm going to move the 9 into the center. And so we'll talk about the court first, just to see if we need to have another card here. We'll know that, though, as time goes on. Here we have an older woman in authority. She's very strong, very dynamic. She has a sunflower in her left receptive hand. She has a staff in her right, but look at the bottom. It bends toward the receptive, doesn't it? So she tends to keep the authority basically in balance. She's not someone like the King of Wands who's too enmeshed, too entrenched in his own authority. But this woman, she can see the forest for the trees. In other words, she can see the greater picture that's involved. And so those people that she has under her authority, they're important to her. That she values them. Here you see the lions on the back of her throne, as well as the sunflower. So you have awakening with this woman. You have strength, certainly, from the fire element. You know, that's a strong energy. But she's about rebirth, and she's about a new day. Let's look at her. You see the sunflowers on top of her crown, even. You see her black cat down there below, looking directly at us, while she's just sort of, she's kind of looking toward the future, isn't she? So she's concerned about what's happening. Here we have the Knight. Now he's headed for the future as well, but this is the Knight of Cups. He's making an offering. He's riding a white horse, who's about to step into something new, over some emotions, it looks like, because you see a small creek running below him there. So he's going to step across into some new emotional expression, perhaps, new compassion. I wanted to look at something here, though, on this. He's visionary. He's romantic. He's chivalrous. Again, the white horse suggests purity and compassion and love. You see the winged sun on his helmet. It's about healing and flow, right? Flow of spirit. The little red ball is actually representative of spirit. It represents the sun. It's the winged sun. Where else do you see that? You see that on the front of the chariot, right above the picture of the shield with the dreidel in the center. Right above it, you're going to see the winged sun expressed there as well. So healing the polarity within. But this is about healing and emotions, isn't it? Cups is the water element, so it's about our emotions, about intuition. Here we have a 9. The 9 is about completion. Here we have nine staffs, though. He's holding one, and he's looking back. He's been through it, hasn't he? He's been through a battle. But the battle's over. But it's almost like, although that could indicate support from others, it's almost like it's an uneasy truce. So he kind of knows where it all is now, but he's just still somewhat uncomfortable. I think we are going to do another card. So we see the energy of the court, though, seems to be future oriented. So, and with the idea of the 9, it's almost like we have a Degas energy here. And let me draw that out for you. I don't know that I'm going to draw Degas, but I'm just going to show you what I mean. Degas is the 23rd rune of the Elder Futhark. And it talks about, as the 23rd rune, it's a 5 energy, so we're talking about change. And it's a change from one state to another. And really, that's what I think we have here. So we have authority and we have awareness. And then we have the need to go out and express a vision of some kind. Maybe the vision of balanced polarity, maybe. Because the issue with the Queen of Wands, she's so dynamic, but she doesn't need to. In other words, her power is not something that is so important to her that she can't express benevolence. And that's why you see her staff, instead of being straight up and down, you've got that bottom part that's sort of, aiming and toward the receptive side of self. So she's not, just one way here. The king, on the other hand, typically is. But here you have Degas, and what I'm talking about here is energy at its saturation point, this is not my interpretation, by the way. Energy at its saturation point becomes its opposite. But I have to think the center point is the 9. It's a sense of completion, where one type of authoritarian energy perhaps is over and a new one is beginning. So perhaps an end to the fire element within, or perhaps you've exhausted that, Mars type of energy. Today's a Mars day, today's Tuesday. And so perhaps this energy needs to give way now into compassion. And maybe the 9 is the struggle that we took to get there. I think that we have to balance the feeling of authority within. And I think that that's what the Queen of Wands does quite effectively. I think that she's basically saying the outcome of this needs to be compassion. Whatever this struggle was that we've been having, whether this is the collective one we're having in our country, or whether this is something happening in your personal life, we're looking at something that is now pretty much coming to a conclusion. The truth is about to be revealed. We had the 1111 gateway yesterday. Whether you think of that as an ascension portal or a portal into awakening, you're looking at something now that's it's a soul focus that's taken over here. And I think that what you're going to see is that principle is going to be guiding us forward, soul type of archetypes. So justice and fair play and surrender. All of these things are going to be important going forward, to surrender to the truth and to stop struggling against things that are just plain to see. And at that point, it's time then to embrace one another with compassion. I'm going to do one more card. I may regret it, but I'm going to do one more card. Yeah, the 6 of, I don't regret it at all, the 6 of Swords. I mean, you can call this a journey over water if you want to in the wintertime, but in reality, we have a 6 energy here, and that's higher self. That's just basically, we've decided to go into a new direction in life, and we're being propelled onward irrespective of the challenges, because we know that there's something better in the offing. I think that the Knight of Cups is telling us the same thing. I don't think that I think that we're finding that, in other words, the Queen of Wands, rather than being so willful the way the King might be, what she's really doing, she's letting us know that we have to stand in our own authority, and we have to speak truth to power, and that truth is important, but it can't be so single-minded that you can't allow for something else to come out. And that's why the bottom part of her staff is bending toward the receptive side of self. Uruz is the rune for today, so again, balance. Another interpretation that is also not mine is drizzle, which is the forming force behind the manifestation. So again, this is a rune of spirit, where spirit is controlling the day. Spirit is controlling this flow of energy, this perception, this way forward into something that is more compassionate, more trustworthy, that is not so much about someone's well, you can try to define the narrative all you want to, but sometimes the truth is going to come out anyway. And I think that that's what we're experiencing right now, whether it's something that, again, is on the societal level, where we're finding out that the truth that the guy in the oval wants you to believe is just a complete pack of lies. And fortunately, you have people that are career people within the government that go to work every day to do what's right for the country. They're coming out and saying, no, we're not going to let you do this. We're going to tell the truth. So I think in a very real sense that they are the Queen of Wands. They're embodying the Queen of Wands. This week, it won't be done behind closed doors. This week, it will be done out in front of everybody beginning tomorrow. Wednesday and Friday, I guess, are going to be two of those kind of hearings where they're going to be open, and they'll be public. They'll be televised. So they're going to ask the same questions all over again, and we're going to get to hear them say it out loud. And I think that when you hear the spoken word, I think that, it's different than when you simply read it. As horrifying as the transcripts were, of the depositions, to hear these people testify in public is going to be quite profound. And so at this point, no matter how we feel about it, we have to realize that there's an ending coming. And that's what I think the Nine of Wands is telling us, that it's time to go ahead and let the will settle out a little bit and let things come to rest and listen to what is being expressed and decide if you believe it. I think that there's going to be such redundancy with everything we hear that we're not going to have a choice but to believe it. And I think deep down, we're going to let intuition resonate with the Knight of Cups, and we're going to know the direction forward. Also, with the Six of Swords, we're going to let what we know propel us onward. Let's see if the geomancy rune for today can tell us what direction that is, or if this is the underlying influences. Let's see. Oh, well. Oh, all right. Well, yeah. New beginnings again, and we've been getting this a lot of late. Let's see, which one do I want to use? Let's use this one, so you can see the dots a little better. Now, in geomancy, it can be done a variety of ways. I've just chosen to create 4 runes with a single dot on one side and a dual dot on the other side, because basically that's what you're doing. You're throwing, you can throw a handful of lentils or peas or stones or whatever and count. If it's an odd number, it results in a single dot. If it's an even number, it results in a dual dot. Well, I just thought that was messy, and I wouldn't find them all here in the dark. So I just decided that I would do these, and I've coded them. They have to be arranged in fire, air, water, and earth. That's the order, in vertical fashion. And so what I did is on each one I coded them. So here's earth, or is that air? That's air. I'm sorry. Earth is upside down. That's earth. So that's air. Fire began it. Well, we'll turn it around that way. There's fire. But that was a dual dot. But what I drew was Caput Draconis. Now, the Draconis ones, Caput and Kata, Kata is about the South Node and past life influences. And it's also considered evil, which I don't understand that. Karma, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's why. But then it's also considered the tail of the dragon. Now Caput Draconis, which we've been getting a lot lately, is new beginnings. It's the head of the dragon, and it's the North Node is its influence. And so we're talking again about present life and the future. So we have to look. We can either use our will to stay at loggerheads with one another, and to not see, to view everything with suspicion, and to view everything as fake news, when it's journalism at its best that's happening right now. You have investigators doing their jobs, whether it's on the judicial side of things, whether it's on Congress's side of things, whether it's on journalists' side of things. You've got a lot of people that are in this business that are investigating and trying to discover the truth. They're not trying to destroy their reputations by creating this illusion. It's not an illusion. It never was. Most of us knew who the guy was, right, before we voted, and that's why almost 3 million people did not vote for him. Voted for the girl who actually won. So I guess the thing is, we can hang on to the will that created all of that, but it's based on a lie. There is your fakeness. There is your lie. There is your deception. There is the individual whose brand was created that does not at all even remotely resemble who he is. It's almost like he's an expression of opposites, you know, where you have somebody, well, it's the classic pedophile who is, I mean, I hate to use but I think it fits. It's the classic pedophile guy who goes to work every day, maybe is you know, somebody high up in his church or what have you, you know, but then he's doing all these other things that are so nefarious and so horrible, right? But they live this life of opposites, and it takes forever, you know, to figure out who they are. You know, you had, what was that, BTK killer years ago, not all that long ago, but even the wife didn't know, and the kids didn't know. He was like what was he? Was he like I don't know, he worked for the city or the county or something. Was the animal control guy or something? But I mean, he was somebody everybody knew. I think he went to church. He was, I don't know, something in there, I think. I don't know. Maybe he taught Sunday school. I don't remember, but the disparity between who he was and who he professed to be was so big. And I think that that's why we're seeing the Queen of Wands. She's allowing for something else here. That the will doesn't necessarily, you know, bring up necessarily what's clear. Sometimes you have clarity with fire, but sometimes you don't. Sometimes passion gets in the way of it, and you can't, you get so caught up in that energy that you can't really see anything. Well, but we have a sense of endings here with the 9, a sense of completion, where whatever struggle we've been going through is going to settle out now, and some things are going to come into play and into focus, and we're going to see the truth for what it is. And at that point, it may be that we may be able to proceed in compassion with one another at that point. Because right now, whether it's something going on in your personal life or what's going on in your personal life, the struggle that you're having is because of what's going on collectively. You know, maybe your family is in turmoil, maybe because some voted for him, some didn't. Well, that doesn't make for an easy conversation at Thanksgiving, does it? It doesn't, does it? Well, it just doesn't. So, you know, so whether that's where a lot of this is stemming from, or whether his election has brought up these inner truths about ourselves that we're going to have to look at, you know. Are we someone who's racist? Are we someone who's sexist? Are we someone who favors predatory behavior and criminality over anything that follows the rule of law or justice or fairness? Are we able to engage with one another in a way that actually produces results? Or are we engaging in subterfuge with others that simply gets us something that nobody knows about until it's too late? Right? So, again, this feels bigger. This feels bigger than simply what's going on in our personal lives, but it could be something where maybe at work you've had a difficulty and now things are starting to become clear and you maybe have a new way forward. Think of this as energy in motion. All right? Whatever resistance that was felt maybe with the fire, all right, is now coming to rest, and is now, we're able to now maybe release some of the hold on that and allow for something new to take hold. So feel that flow, that energetic flow, both contained within this card. Even though it's a card of elemental air and intellect, you see a flow towards something else. You know, the same sort of thing. And we're flowing toward compassion, aren't we? And trustworthiness. I don't know. Something to think about. I think that the Sun conjunct Mercury talks about positive news today and ideas flowing. So I think that also may be part of the flow here in this card. But I like the idea that there seems to be a pause with the excess will. And then maybe we're going to manifest something else with Uruz here. Uruz is a water element, so it's about change. And again, I think you're looking at, I think we can put that on top of both the Knight of Cups and the Six of Swords here. So you're going to start to see that flow again with Caput Draconis into something new. Well, there it went on the floor, but into something new, into new experiences, new expressions, new awarenesses. Again, we're in an 11 month, and so that's a master number for illumination and awareness from a soul level. And so I think that we can use this time to really dig into what we're learning and to understand the truth of it all, and then to find some kind of peace that we can then share with others. The volatility has made it difficult to do that. It's easy to say, well, if you voted for that person, I'm never going to speak to you again, or I don't want to know you, especially when harsh words are spoken. So I think that if we can declare a moratorium on that, at least for Mercury, or at least for the time of Mercury retrograde, it may give us a time to maybe just sit with our own thoughts and try to just simply listen and hear what people are saying and see the pattern of behavior that's developed. And whether that's, again, I mean, this could also be happening. We have the Mars in the 10th house and also in Libra. So whether this, again, I have the sense that if this isn't about what's happening vis-a-vis our personal relationships with respect to what's going on in the government, if it's not, something that's predicated on that's trickled down from that, then this may have something to do with work and relationships with work, and how we interact with one another there. If we're too willful at work, we're not going to be able, work is generally a cohesive experience. It's typically not a bunch of individuals working independent of one another for a greater purpose. At some point, even if our jobs are kind of like that, at some point you got to interact with one another. You got to bring everything you've done together, right, in service of this outcome, hopefully. Unless you are just have multiple divisions in your business or where you work, and each one has its own thing and they're just different subsidiaries, and I suppose that's one thing. But at some point you got to talk to one another and you got to engage with one another. And I think that if we do that in a way that's just too willful and doesn't listen to the views of others, which again is what's happening in the government, again, what's happening there in the macrocosm plays out in the microcosm, doesn't it? And so if we can extrapolate some kind of message, to help us in the way we choose to interact with one another, if we look at what's happening there and see what a mess that is, in other words, maybe we can figure out a way to interact with one another in a way that's respectful and reflects cohesion, even if it's just the final cohesion from the disparate views that are expressed. It's like, okay, we've got all these different ideas that are out there. Maybe they don't match, maybe they don't mesh, but eventually we're going to come to some decision here, and we're all going to agree on. So it's that kind of flow of energy that I think is happening here. And again, it's about the 11 energy. And if we just let that inform us, I think that we're going to be okay. I think that the right outcome will happen. So, and hopefully it's one where, we're going forward into something new together. No matter what the challenge is, we're going. And we're going to hang in there with one another. So, in any event, I'm going to do this probably really early in the morning tomorrow, or I'm going to wait and see if they take a break. And they're probably going to take a break if it's 7 o'clock my time. I don't know when they would take a break, though. If they start at 10, maybe they would take one at noon. I don't know. I may just get up and do this at the 6 o'clock hour, and that way I'm just done for the day and I can just watch the hearings. I don't know how long these folks are going to be there. I guess both of them are going to be there at the same time. So that should be interesting. But in any event, maybe they'll make quick work of it and just go back and forth. I don't know. But in any event, I will be here tomorrow and also again on Thursday. And then, we won't see you again until Monday. So in any event, if you haven't been here before, again, I just do it 4 days a week. And whenever we have something else that's happening, I just have to sort of shift gears. And, so I don't know. Maybe I will do I'm thinking though, maybe sort of thinking out loud here, perhaps I'll go ahead and I'll do the moon information though for um, still around 9 o'clock instead of the 6 a.m. hour. That seems awfully harsh. Well, maybe I could. Maybe I will. I'll see. I don't know. Anyway, go check out the blog if you want, and the correspondences and astrological information for today will be up. The weekly Rune and Moon is up. So is the monthly tarot and the monthly geomancy. So that's all there if you want to scroll back and look at that and try to see what's going to happen here the rest of the month and the rest of the week, or at least what the influences are. So I guess that's it. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another, and blessed be.